You can't save the world, dog. You can only save yourself. Actually, hold on. I kind of wanted something to drink before I do this. I'll be right back. It's a pretty nice bottle, isn't it? Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Young Roxas, aka Big Roxas. Didn't talk with you guys. Is that cool? Can we have a one-on-one? Can we have a conversation? Oh, this? Oh, I can't use this. Monetization? Yeah, man, you cannot save the world, dog. Now, you might be asking yourself what I mean by you can't save the world. Let's first break away from the concept of the world is supposed to be a certain way. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times that when we're navigating through life and we're navigating through the world, we have almost this fixed perception as to how it should be, how things should work, and there is some truth to that, but I think it's a little deeper than that, right? Flux when it comes to just like how I feel and how I interact with the world as of recently. I have been kind of like ducked off, but not ducked off in a bad way. Ducked off in a good way as in like, it's me trying to figure out my place in the world. You know what I mean? What I want out of this. Where do I fit in amongst society? You know what I mean? The fact that I've been pondering this question a lot, it's really, I think it's a good thing. I think it's really a good thing because it does show that I want to get integrated back into society. Because I ain't gonna lie to you guys, bro. I'm a very observant person. I've been keeping a close fucking eye on this planet, bro. Since the day that I was born till now. 24 now, about to be 25 in a couple months. Disgusting, I know, right? There's a lot of things that I see. There's a lot of things that I don't see. And then there are a lot of things that I know that's there, even though I can't see it happening actively. You know what I mean? When I was younger, yo, I definitely will say I'm the type of person that has a crap ton of confidence and arrogance, but it's always in a good way. It doesn't come off as like super douchebaggy-ish. So that's always good, because nobody likes douchebags, right? I don't know, man. I always thought that I could have some type of control over the world that I was navigating through. You know, I think we're all kind of thinking that way. Well, maybe not as a kid too much. When I say kid, I'm really talking about like a preteen, so 12, 13, when your frontal lobe starts growing and you start having those thoughts about who you are and, you know, what you want to do. You start hitting puberty. You start growing hair on your face and you're like, damn, what is happening to me, dog? I used to really like think of myself as like, yeah, I'm going to be the person to change the world. I'm going to be the person to, you know, shape the planet. I'm going to be the person to do all this cool stuff. And to some degree, I probably never actively told anybody this. I may have like joked around about it, but there might be a sort of like God complex to my personality. I'm not 100% sure yet. As a kid, yeah, I was him. I was him. But yeah, I got into the mindset of just like, yeah, I'm gonna change the world, and you know, that's nice and all, but in reality, the desire to want to change the world and the desire to accept the world as it is are two totally different ways of thinking. Younger and you don't have control of a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? Of course, you know, you want that, you have that innate desire to want things your way because you're a kid, but at the same time, you don't have the mental maturity to understand that certain things are going to be out of your control. There's going to be things that you're not going to be able to do jack about, son. And not just that, but there are a lot of obstacles that are going to prevent you from changing the world, doing it how you want to do it. Like, you're not going to have some straightforward path. And I think as a kid, you don't quite realize that. So you can say, hey, what do you want to be? I want to be an astronaut. Your mind from there on is going to be focused and centered on just walking that straight path and thinking you're going to have complete control of everything going down the line. And that's nice. There's ignorance and bliss, especially when you're a kid, and that's why children are some of like the smartest beings, because they're not tainted by what they see yet in the world. They're not tainted by their own like intrusive thoughts. They're not tainted by like external influences. You know what I'm saying? Look at things with a little bit more of a free and openness to it, that a mind or an adult that is just, experienced and just experienced life overall cannot get back into, at least so easily. It's not impossible for us to get back to that same type of mindset, but it does take a crap ton of work and a crap ton of time. It's not something you can just switch on and off. Get to be a certain age. When I got to be around, I want to say when I got to around 18, 19, maybe a portion of 17. It's probably some of the worst years of my, well, no, I couldn't say that. Maybe a little bit before that, just some of the worst times of my life. And I started realizing around that time that I didn't have control, or as much control as I initially assumed, right? My initial deduction was highly incorrect. I couldn't control anything. I couldn't even control myself. And if I can't control myself, how am I gonna have control over what happens in the world? How am I gonna have control over how things progress? How am I gonna have control over just anything regarding stuff on this little earth? It's impossible. Can't control everything. And so it shut me down. It shut me down realizing that I was almost powerless to do anything to affect the world. I really got into a spot where I didn't think that I could have any type of profound impact. This is not saying that it's impossible, you know what I'm saying? It's not saying it's impossible to change or have a profound impact on the world, but when you're at that age, and especially with me being taken into account as a factor, that was just almost like a gut-wrenching punch. Like, wow, I don't have control over anything, do I? I'm kind of just floating here and floating around. And so I drifted for a while, It was for nothing. It was all for naught. There was no reason for me to be here if I can't make some type of change impact on the world. And it drove me nuts, bro. It drove me absolutely nuts. Nuts enough to the point where there were a couple times where I thought about jumping off the edge, but I'm glad I didn't. You know what I mean? Didn't want to ruin the good time that I'm having here. Plus, honestly, bro, with all due respect, dude, with all the games that are coming out, it's not too bad right now. It's not too bad. It broke me down and crushed me, but I think, and I've held on to that for a while, but I think as time has gone on, and it's been roughly almost like 6 years since then, you can't change the world. You can't force it to change for you. You know what I mean? And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It shouldn't be your sole responsibility. You shouldn't bring it upon yourself to feel like you need to do something quick or do something amazing or do something extraordinary in order to have an effect. You have such an impact on the world by the daily small things that you do, the daily small interactions that you have. I think that's what makes a change. And I think releasing yourself of that burden, because I think it did eventually get to my head. There was a period of time where I was arrogant. I'm not really afraid to admit that. And I think the God complex kind of did take over. And it got to the point where I was like, I was pretty much trying to enforce my will on to something that is just not going to take it, and that's the world. To do this, to change it, we need to do that. Change is possible, and change is always going to be present. It's one of the laws of the universe, impermanence. But change doesn't always have to be this bombastic thing. Change doesn't always have to be this instantaneous gratification. I feel like the best type of changes are not the changes that happen overnight, but the changes that happen gradually. That's where I'm at. I don't want to, like, with the content and whatever, even my clothing line and all that, like all the stuff that I'm working on, I'm not doing it for, obviously, I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it just because I want to see the world rock a little bit of my drip and laugh at it a little bit. I could care less about fucking money. I think just doing that, bro, just being yourself and being you, just not really, I'm not going to say doing the best that you can, but just realizing that every single thing matters to some degree. Don't make it your whole day and be like, I stepped on that roach earlier. it's going to be a bad day. Like, no, I don't think like that. Understanding that the world's going to be the way that it is to some degree. There's not a lot of control that you can have on that, but that's not a bad thing, because all it takes is one person and one act, intertwine them together, you start a chain, and I think the chain eventually gets linked onto another and another and another. Eventually you have this giant, and I think that's how change works anyways. There's always a spark somewhere. Change doesn't just happen overnight. Always some type of spark, and it eventually builds up into this massive change that the world can see, but little do we know the change happened in that small instance, that present moment right there with whoever and whatever interacted, and then it just grew to be something that we all had to recognize. And I think there's power in that. No, dude, I don't want to change the world. I don't want to do that. I just want to leave my own generic mark on there with a little bit of like me mixed in it. I've had to literally learn not to take everything so seriously, not to put that burden on myself to try to like be the savior and be this person. And mind you, I'm not gonna lie. This is very into psychology. I'm very into how the mind works. I'm very into mental processing and just cognition overall. Just seeing how the brain reacts and works in order to understand how like our infrastructure is built as far as memory, thought, feelings, emotions. And even now, science itself can't really tell us too much about the brain, only like the bare minimum. And I think that that's extraordinary. That means that the human mind can't be calculated. And if something can't be calculated, it must have like unfathomable potential. A lot of people come to me, man. I'm pretty wise. A lot of people come to me with their problems. A lot of people come to me with their emotions. A lot of people come to me with just a lot of stuff, dude. And I realized I was shying away from being a certain type of person because I felt like that wasn't who I was. But at the same time, like I had to realize there are boundaries to that type of stuff. I can no longer run from who I need to be. I cannot be a savior, but I'm damn sure gonna try to be. But I don't have to do this bombastic thing or be this bombastic person to do it. I can become a savior. I can become an impact on the world just by being me on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's why you probably shouldn't save the world. And I feel like once you save yourself, then somehow you save the world. It's a weird type of like connection. Don't at me. Don't at me. No, this was just kind of spontaneous. I kind of had like this dream about it, so I figured I'd just like grab the cord and Oh, I guess you guys have probably already seen what I look like. But yeah, this is what I look like. This is what I look like when it's 7:55 in the morning. I was already up at like 3, so you will not get a raw, version of me than this. You probably want to soak this all in. Yeah, that's really it though. It's not nothing too deep. It's just a thought. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Oh, and if you say something about this pink bonnet, listen, son, I like pasty colors. All right, mind your fucking business.